Guess who's late? Late again. Guess she's late. Tell a friend. Guess who's late? Guess who's late? Guess who's late? Unless I scheduled it for the wrong guy. Did I? I don't know. Hey, Grandma, how's it going? Hey, I have a riddle for you. I have a lot, no, okay, here we go. I have a lot of pages. I hold a lot of pages, but you can't read me. What am I? I hold a lot of pages, but you can't read me. Just a little riddle. I hold a lot of pages, but you can't read me. What am I? No, I'll give you three guesses. I hold a lot of pages, but you can't read me. It's a riddle. If you want three guesses. Yeah. How is everybody tonight? I hope everybody's doing good. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. But no, not a beeper, but that's a good answer. Good answer. But no. But that is a good answer. One more guess. That is a great answer. I hold a lot of pages, but you can't read me. I hold a lot of pages, but you can't read me. What am I? I really like that beeper answer. No, it's bookends. Bookends. It's pouring out here. Is it pouring where you are? Really raining bad. Raining. Pouring out. How about where you are? Yeah, I didn't know if I should do the trivia tonight, if people were getting sick of trivia, or, I know I gotta return this book, so I was gonna, like, try to finish it up. Is it raining there? I don't know if you had ever listened to that book that I was reading, The Art of Racing in the Rain. Do you like it there? What's it like there? You ever watch that guy? I think his name's Nick Johnson or something, and he does like the different cities, across America. Pretty funny too. And he just, tells the different statistics about the cities and everything. But he's, amusing as well because he's got a sense of humor. I like watching him sometimes. He's pretty good. But the book that I was reading is called The Art of Racing in the Rain. And I had gotten up to chapter, like half of chapter 14. I had put the link in the description. So in case anybody wanted to like see where I had left off, it's all told from the eyes of the dog. The dog's name is Enzo. And it's pretty good because at this point in the book, the dog has been with this guy Denny, and Denny, it's a yellow, like a golden retriever, yellow lab golden retriever, and Denny is like a wants to be a race car driver, but of course, he's married and has another job, and he's married to Eve, Lady Eve, and they have a little girl named Zoe, and Eve has been sick lately, and the dog can smell like her disease, but he is frustrated because he can't tell her. The dog is really smart. Thank you, Grandma. I appreciate that. I think you are too. Trying to keep my head up. Just trying to keep my head up. But so at this point, Danny, like the little girl, is like, I don't know, she's in first grade or something. And Danny has just been offered like a racing position. Oh shoot. I bet this is like I'm gonna have to go in and out because I just got a phone call. I'll be back. Oh shit. I'll be back. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. So, anyway, I don't know who's still here, but if you're here because, you're interested in hearing some more of the art of racing in the rain, like I said, at this point, Danny had gotten offered a spot on like a racing, thing, circuit or whatever. And he really doesn't want to go because his wife Eve has been getting sick. And the story is all told from the eyes of the dog. And I had stopped in the middle of chapter 14. And what was going on there was they've got like a lot of tension going on at dinner time. And the dog is just listening. Remember, the story is told from the eyes of the dog. And so they're kind of arguing and everything. And all the while, the little girl, Zoe, doesn't want to eat her chicken nugget. And the wife is like yelling at her because she's pissed that, Denny's going back racing, um and she hasn't been feeling good. So I'm just gonna take it from there. I put in the link, the description of link of where I'd ended up. And so if anybody's been following me reading The Art of Racing in the Rain, I'm just gonna pick up where I left off. It's pretty rainy out. Try to get out as much as they can. They want their book back. So, okay. So this time, the little girl, Zoe, wants a different, something different to eat than the chicken nugget. And the husband saying to the wife, "You're overreacting." He said, "Why don't you go lie down and let me finish up here?" "You always take her side," Eve said. "I just want her to have a dinner she'll eat." "Fine," Eve hissed. "I'll make her a hot dog then." Eve whirled from the table and almost crushed me when she burst into the kitchen. She threw open the freezer door and snatched a package of hot dogs, turned on the faucet, and held the package under the running water. She grabbed a knife from the block and stabbed into the package, and that's when the evening turned from one filled with forgettable arguments to one marked by undeniable and permanent evidence. As if the knife had a will of its own and wanted to get involved in the ruckus, the blade leapt from the wet, frozen package and sliced deep and clean into the fleshy webbing of Eve's left palm between her thumb and fingers. The knife clattered in the sink, and Eve grabbed her hand with a wail. Watery drops of blood speckled the backsplash. Denny was there in a moment with the dishcloth. "Let me see it," he said, peeling the blood-soaked cloth from her hand, which she held by the wrist as if it were no longer a part of her body, but some alien creature that had attacked her. "We should take you to the hospital," he said. "No," she bellowed. "No hospital." "You need stitches," he said, examining the gushing wound. She didn't answer immediately, but her eyes were filled with tears, not from pain, but from fear. She was so afraid of doctors and hospitals. She was so afraid that if she might go in, they would never let her out. "Please," she whispered to Denny, "please, no hospital." He groaned and shook his head. "I'll see if I can close it," he said. Zoe stood next to me, silent, eyes wide, holding a chicken nugget, watching. Neither of us knew what to do. "Zoe, baby," Denny said, "can you find the butterfly closures for me in the hall closet? We'll get Mommy all patched up, okay?" Zoe didn't move. How could she? She knew she was the cause of Mommy's pain. It was her blood that Eve was bleeding. "Zoe, please," Denny said, lifting Eve to her feet. "Blue and white box, red letters. Look for the B word, butterfly." Zoe headed off to find the box. Denny guided Eve to the bathroom and closed the door. I heard Eve cry out in pain. When Zoe returned with the box of bandages, she didn't know where her parents had gone, so I walked her to the bathroom door and barked. Denny opened the door a crack and took the bandages. "Thanks, Zoe. I'll take care of Mommy now. You can go play or watch TV." He closed the door. Zoe looked at me for a moment with concern in her eyes, and I wanted to help her. Remember, this is told from the eyes of the dog. I walked towards the living room and looked back. She still hesitated, so I went to get her. I nudged her and tried again. This time she followed me. I sat before the television and waited for her to turn it on, which she did, and we watched the kids next door, and then Denny and Eve appeared. They saw us watching TV together, and they seemed somehow relieved. They sat next to Zoe and watched along with us, not saying a word. When the show was over, Eve pressed the mute button on the remote. "The cut isn't very bad," she said to Zoe. "If you're still hungry, I can make you a hot dog." Zoe shook her head, and then Eve started sobbing. Sitting on the couch, exposed to the world, she collapsed into herself. I could see her energy implode. "I'm so sorry," she cried. Denny put his arm around her shoulder and held her. "I don't want to be like this," she sobbed. "It's not me. I'm so sorry." I don't want to be mean. It's not who I am. Zoe grabbed her mother and held tight, which unleashed a flood of tears from both of them, and they were joined by Denny, who hovered over them like a firefighting helicopter, dumping his bucket of tears on the fire. I left, not because I felt they wanted their privacy, believe me. I left because I felt they had resolved their issues and all was good in the world. And also, I was hungry. I wandered into the dining room and scanned the floor for droppings. There wasn't much, but in the kitchen I found something good, a nugget. Zoe must have dropped it after Eve cut herself. It looked like a fair snack to me, something to tide me over until they got over their cuddly moment and remembered to feed me. I sniffed the nugget and I recoiled in disgust. It was bad. I sniffed again. Rancid, foul, disease laden. The nuggets had been in the freezer too long, or out of the freezer too long, or both, I concluded, having witnessed what little regard people pay to their grocery stack. This nugget, and probably all the others on the plate, had definitely turned. I felt bad for Zoe. All she'd had to do was say that the nuggets didn't taste right, and this incident would have been avoided. But Eve would have found a way to hurt herself anyway, I suppose. They needed this moment. It was important to them as a family, and I understood that. In racing, they say that your car goes where your eyes go. The driver who cannot tear his eyes away from the wall as he spins out of control will meet that wall. The driver who looks down the track as he feels his tires break free will regain control of his vehicle. Your car goes where your eyes go. Simply another way of saying that which you manifest is before you. I know it's true. Racing doesn't lie. I hope nobody's bored with this, okay? Because I'll go on to chapter 15, if that's okay. Remember, that's all told from the eyes of the dog, and the dog, he's pretty smart, and he can smell the disease that the wife has, but he's frustrated he can't tell her. And Denny is about to go on a racing circuit. Chapter 15. When Denny went away the following week, we went to Eve's parents' house so they could take care of us. Eve's hand was bandaged up, which indicated to me that the cut was worse than she had let on, but it didn't slow her down much. Maxwell and Trish, the twins, that's what the dog calls uh, the wife's parents, lived in a very fancy house on a large parcel of wooded land on Mercer Island, with an amazing view of Lake Washington and Seattle. And for having such a beautiful place to live, they were among the most unhappy people I've ever met. Nothing was good enough for them. They were always complaining about how things could be better, or why things were as bad as they were. When we arrived, they started in about Denny right away. He doesn't spend enough time with Zoe. He's neglecting your relationship. His dog needs a bath. Like my hygiene has anything to do with it. I like the dog. What are you going to do? Maxwell asked her. They were standing around in the kitchen while Trish cooked dinner, making something that Zoe would inevitably hate. Zoe is the little girl, by the way. It was a warm spring evening, so the twins were wearing polo shirts with their slacks. Maxwell and Trish were drinking Manhattans with cherries, Eve a glass of wine. She had rejected the painkiller offered to her, which was left over from the hernia operation Maxwell had undergone a few months before. I'm going to get in shape, Eve said. I feel fat. But you're so thin, Trish said. You can feel fat even if you're thin. I feel out of shape. Oh. I mean about Denny, Maxwell said. What do I need to do about Denny? Eve asked. Something. What is he contributing to your family? You make all the money. He's my husband and he's Zoe's father and I love him. What else does he need to contribute to our family? Maxwell snorted and slapped the counter. I flinched. You're scaring the dog, Trish pointed out. She rarely called me by name. They do that in prisoner of war camps, I've heard. Depersonalization. The dog watches a lot of TV, so he knows a lot of stuff. I'm just frustrated, Maxwell said. I want the best for my girls. Whenever you come to stay here, it's because he's gone racing. It's not good for you. This season is really important for his career, Eve said, trying to remain steadfast. I wish I were able to be more involved, but I'm doing the best I can, and he appreciates that. What I don't need is you going after me for it. I'm sorry, Maxwell said, holding up his hands in surrender. I'm sorry. I just want what's best for you. I know, Daddy, Eve said, and she leaned forward and kissed his cheek. I want what's best for me, too. She took her wine outside in the backyard, and I lingered. Maxwell opened the refrigerator and retrieved a jar of the hot peppers he liked to eat. He was always eating peppers. He opened the jar and squeezed his fingers inside, extracted a long pepperoncini, and crunched into it. Do you see how frail she's gotten? Trish asked. Like a whippet, but she feels fat. He shook his head. My daughter, with a mechanic. No, not a mechanic, a customer service technician. Where did we go wrong? She's always made her own choices, Trish said, but at least her choices made sense. She majored in art history, for Christ's sake. She ends up with him. The dog is watching you, Trish said after a moment. Maybe he wants a pepper. Maxwell's expression changed. Want a treat, boy? He asked, holding out a pepperoncini. That that wasn't why I had been watching him. I was watching him to better glean the meaning of his words. Still, I was hungry, so I sniffed at the pepper. They're good, he prompted. Imported from Italy. He's feeding the dog a pepper. What a jerk, right? I took the pepper from him and immediately felt a prickly sensation on my tongue. I bit down and a burning liquid filled my mouth. I quickly swallowed and thought I was done with the discomfort. Surely the acid in my stomach would cancel out the acid of the pepper. But that's when the pain really began. My throat felt as if it had been scraped raw. My stomach churned, and I immediately left the room and the house. Outside the back door, I lapped at my bowl of water, but it did little to help. I made my way to a nearby shrub and lay down in its shade and rested until the burning went away. When they took me out that night, Trish and Maxwell did, as Zoe and Eve had long been asleep. They stood at the back door and repeated their silly mantra. Get busy, boy. Get busy. Still feeling somewhat queasy, I ventured away from the house farther than I usually did, crouched in my stance, and shat. After I did my business, I saw that my stool was loose and watery, and when I sniffed at it, it was unusually foul smelling. I knew I was safe and the ordeal had passed. Still, since that time, I have been wary of trying new foods that might upset my system, and I have never accepted food from someone I didn't fully trust. I hope you guys are enjoying. I see like it stays at, the same number, and I'm hoping that, at least that amount of people are, following along and enjoy the book. And, because I like this book. It's a good one. And like I said, the library wants it back. Chapter 16 of The Art of Racing in the Rain. The weeks tripped by with tremendous haste, as if digging into the fall were the most important mission of all. There was no lingering on accomplishment. Denny got his first victory in Laguna in early June. He pegged a podium finish, third place at Road Atlanta, and he finished eighth in Denver. That week, with the boys in Sonoma, had worked out the kinks with the crew, and it was all on Denny's shoulders, and his shoulders were broad. That summer, when we gathered around the dinner table, there was something to talk about. Trophies, photographs, replays on television late at night. Suddenly people were hanging around, coming over for dinner. Not just Mike from work, where they were happy to accommodate Denny's crazy schedule, but others too. NASCAR veteran Derek Pope, motorsport Hall of Famer Chip Hanauer. We were even introduced to Luca Pantoni, a very powerful man at Ferrari headquarters in Maranello, Italy. who was in Seattle visiting Don Kitch Jr., Seattle's premier racing tutor. Oh, excuse me. I burped. Mm. I never broke my rule about the dining room. I have too much integrity for that. But I sat upon the threshold, I assure you. My toenails edged over the line so that I could be that much closer to greatness. I learned more about racing in those few weeks than I had in all my prior years of watching videos and television. To hear the estimable Ross Bentley, coach of champions, speak about breathing was absolutely stunning. I didn't see the movie Rachel. I love the book so much but I heard it was pretty good. But I'm reading the book, so hopefully you like it. I'm at chapter 16. Zoe chattered away constantly, always something to say, always something to show. She would sit on Denny's knees with her big eyes absorbing every word of the conversation, and at an appropriate moment, she would declare some racing truth Denny had taught her. Slow hands in the fast stuff, fast hands in the slow stuff, or something like that, and all the big men would be suitably impressed. I was proud of her in those moments, since I was unable to impress the racing man with my knowledge. The next best thing was to experience it vicariously through Zoe. Eve was happy again. She took what she called mat classes and gained muscle tone, and often alerted Denny to her needs. Her health had greatly improved with no explanation, no more headache, no more nausea. She continued to have trouble with her injured hand, oddly, and sometimes she used a wrist support to help her grip when cooking. Still, she seemed herself very happy. Yet, for every peak, there is a valley. Denny's next race was pivotal, as a good finish would solidify his position as Rookie of the Year. In that race at Phoenix International Raceway, Denny got tagged in the first turn. This is a rule of racing. No race has ever been won in the first corner, but many have been lost there. He got caught in a bad spot. Someone tried to late brake him going into the corner and locked it up. Tires don't work because they aren't rolling. In full out skid, the hard charger slammed into Denny's left front wheel, destroying the car's alignment. The toe was skewed so badly that his car crabbed up the track, scrubbing sounds off his lap time. Scrubbing seconds, off his lap time. Alignment, late braking, locking up, toe in, mere jargon. These are simply the terms we use to explain the phenomena around us. What matters is not how precisely we can explain the event, but the event itself and its consequence, which was that Denny's car was broken. He finished the race, but he finished DFL. That's what it's called when he told me about it. A new category. There's DNS, did not start. There's DNF, did not finish. And there's DFL, dead fucking last. It just doesn't seem fair, Eve said. It was the other driver's fault. If it was anybody's fault, Denny said, it was mine for being where I could get collected. This is something I'd heard him say before. Getting angry at another driver for a driving incident is pointless. You need to watch the drivers around you, understand their skill, confidence, and aggression levels, and drive with them accordingly. Know who is driving next to you. See, I like how this book metaphorically, like it uses the racing, phrases and comparisons to like symbolize anything in life, really. Like know who you're driving next to in life. Gauge them, gauge everything about them, and know who is driving next to you. Any problems that may occur have ultimately been caused by you because you are responsible for where you are and what you are doing there. Still, fault or no, Denny was crushed, Zoe was crushed, Eve was crushed, I was decimated. We had come so close to greatness. We had smelled it, and it smelled like roast pig. Everybody likes the smell of roast pig, but what is worse? Smelling the roast and not feasting, or not smelling the roast at all. Also, question: what's worse? Smelling the roast and not feasting, or not smelling the roast at all? August was hot and dry, and the grass all around the neighborhood was brown and dead. Danny spent his time doing math, by figuring it was still possible for him to finish in the top 10 in the series and likely win Rookie of the Year, and either result would assure him of getting another ride the following year. We sat on the back porch, basking in the early evening sun, the smell of Denny's freshly baked oatmeal cookies wafting from the kitchen, Zoe running in the sprinkler, Denny massaging Eve's hand gently, giving it life. I was on the deck, doing my best impression of an iguana, soaking up all the heat I could to warm my blood, hoping if I absorbed enough, it would carry me through the winter, which would be likely harsh, cold, dark, and bitter, as a hot Seattle summer usually portends. Maybe it isn't meant to be, Eve said. It'll happen when it happens, Denny told her. But you're never here anymore when I'm ovulating. Gotta really remember that. Oh, cool. Cool, Rachel. So come with me next week. Zoe will love it. We'll stay where they have a pool. She loves anything with a pool, and you can come to the track for the race. I can't go to the track, Eve said. Not now. I mean, I wish I could. I really do. But I've been feeling good lately, and I'm afraid. The track is so loud and it's hot and it smells like rubber and gas and the radio blasts static into my ears and everyone's shouting at each other so they can be heard. It might give me a bad reaction to it. Denny smiled and sighed. Even Eve cracked a smile. Do you understand? She asked. I do, Denny answered. I did too. Everything about the track, the sounds, the smells, walking through the paddock and feeling the energy, the heat of the race motors emanating from each pit, the electricity that ripples up and down the paddock when the announcer calls the next race group to the pre-grid, watching the frantic scramble of a standing start, and then imagining the possibilities, putting together the story of what's going on when the cars are out of sight on other parts of the race circuit until they come around to start finish again in an entirely different order, dodging and drafting and making runs and diving into the next turn that can flip everything upside down again. Denny and I fed off it. It gave us life, but I totally understood that what filled us with energy could be toxic to someone else, especially Eve. We could use a turkey baster, Denny said, and Eve laughed harder, harder than I'd seen her laugh in a long time. I could leave you with a full of potential babies in the refrigerator, he said, and she laughed even harder. I didn't get the joke, but Eve thought it was hysterical. She got up and went into the house, reappearing a moment later with the turkey baster from the kitchen. She scrutinized it with a devious smile and ran her fingers along its length. She said, maybe. They giggled together and looked out to the lawn, and I looked with them, and we all watched Zoe, her wet hair clinging to her shoulders in glistening locks, her childish bikini and tan feet, pure joy as she ran circles around the sprinkler, her shrieks and squeals and laughs echoing through the Central District street. So how is everybody? Everybody that's here. I know, not a lot of people like the reading. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know what? I won't finish it. I won't finish it. Screw it. I just thought because it was a rainy night that maybe, people might like it, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't get much support anymore. I don't know. You know how it is. You know how it is. I'm sorry that I'm not a drama channel, I'm not really into the drama things, I don't, you know, uh, people's thoughts and actions. I mean, people are who they want to be, people can be who they want to be. They can, just be what they want to be. It doesn't bother me if, you know, someone, is doing this on in their neck of the woods. Um, so I don't have enough, like, I guess, I'm sure like anybody could come up with enough bad shit that they might want to say about people to fill up their live streams or my live stream. I am sure I could come up with enough. Um, but I don't want to come up with anything to put anyone down, you know? So in turn, it makes me, not, it's funny. It's like, it's a two-edged sword kind of thing. If I was to do drama, then I'd be like put down for it and called drama. Um, but if I don't do drama, I have I mean, yeah, if I don't do it, I as with a lot of people that I've seen, they don't get the attention, like, the views or the, activity on their live streams. They don't like people like that stuff, I guess. So, and I can, like I will try to continue doing the live streams because I enjoy them, but if I'm seeing that, people aren't enjoying them, then they're not really, that fun for me either. You know what I mean? Like if I can't get any kind of like activity and like, I was told, well, now I'm just like basically talking to walls and stuff. So, I mean, basically that's true. And I'll still be me and I'll go to people's live streams and show support and give thumbs up and everything. I don't do it for it to be returned because if I did, I'd be sorely disappointed. Um, I don't know how hard it could possibly be to show support to other people's live streams, but I'm sorry. So anyway, I hope you all have a good night and enjoy the rain.